everybody, and welcome to another episode of Horror Movie Night. If my voice sounds a little bit deeper and sexier and more rugged than before, I was at San Diego Comic-Con, and...
They're not related.
They're not related to anything, but we are talking about...
Came home a man.
Jaws 2 from 1978.
78? Really?
I believe so, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's 78.
High bar here. This was easily the best Jaws sequel. And here's the reason why I finally decided to pick this one. I realized the other day that what I like about Jaws 2...
What I like about 2.
There are elements of Jaws 2 that I do think are as good as Jaws 1. But Jaws 2 is the Friday the 13th sequel of this franchise.
Correct.
It really is shot and operates like a slasher film.
Dude, I wrote that as an exact note that I wrote down. It is full-blown slasher, which we might have talked about on here before, but like actually seeing it, this is my first time watch, actually seeing it take place, I was like, oh my God, it really is. It's this unstoppable slasher force attacking these kids. That like they literally all do end up in one spot, which is this boat,
that's
like,
the best part
raft.
of the, well,
right.
It's not the best
I
part
actually
of the movie,
wrote,
but it's the most surprisingly.
I think that this third, one of my notes says, real talk, I think this movie has a fantastic third act set piece with the kids all on their boats huddled together trying to survive. Like, it is a very well-paced suspense thriller horror sequel. It's obviously not as good or impressive as the first one, but it does hit a lot of good beats. It could probably stand to be 20 minutes shorter.
Yeah, it's quite a long.
But all in all, it's not a bad time. So I know Kyle said this was his first watch. I'm assuming it was your first watch, Scott, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely my first watch. I mean, it's not that I don't. There's a lot to like here.
Oh, no.
It's just like the pacing's kind of garbage. That's really the problem that I have with it.
It's got a big second act when it doesn't need to.
No. No, it does. It takes a while. But there are bits and pieces of it that I really like. I mean, I think obviously like Roy Schneider coming back looking like James Woods is a choice.
He really does.
He really fucking looks like James Woods here.
So do you know the story of this one? Of Roy Schneider had no interest in doing this movie.
Sure.
And essentially
understandably so.
Only agreed to do it to get out of his Universal contract. He was like apparently owed them like 2 or 3 movies on his contract, and he was like, look, if I do Jaws 2, will you wipe my slate clean and let me literally go anywhere else to make movies? And they were like, sure. Like,
oh my God, good for them. Good for everybody involved. It feels like this was a win-win.
But you can kind of tell that he's only like 1 foot in.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The schmacting of the shame that he felt shooting this bluefish.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. The of shooting this bluefish. I was like, oh, this like he really is. He's almost like he's not phoning it in. He's overdoing it there. And I'm like, are you? What are you doing? Why are you doing this? But I loved it. I actually I loved it. It felt like a more unhinged Brody, right?
Well, it's
Brody and Mayor too. Like that Mayor was. Could you imagine being that Mayor and being like, "Oh, here it goes."
Well,
like,
that's that's the great joke that happens every election. Is like reminder, 3 years after the first Jaws movie, he's still Mayor, and this is why it's important to vote in your local elections.
Correct. Correct. What a knucklehead.
So there's about 8 minutes of deleted scenes. I sent you guys the only important one. A lot of it is like deleted for good reason. But one thing I did say, I kind of wish they had kept this deleted scene in when I was combing through the Blu-ray, is right before Chief Brody gets fired is a meeting with the mayor and all of the other people on the council, and the mayor is very distraught about the decision, but he doesn't have a say in it. And it's like, I kind of wish that was still in there, because it was like a the tiniest bit of redemption for the mayor, in the sense of like he knows that Brody is almost definitely right. And like doesn't want this to happen. The movie kicks off with a pretty cool opening scene. You've got these 2 scuba divers. They're swimming around the orca from the first movie, the sunken ship. and then they got like just a couple quick shots of some teeth, a little bit of stock footage, and then we cut to this gala where there is a marching band just slaying a cover of Downtown by Petunia Clark.
They're killing it.
And I'm like,
Killing it.
I that was the first active thought that I had watching this, because I just kind of like let the first 2 minutes just wash over me, pun intended, I suppose. But the first thing I actually thought was, so why is this high school marching band playing a 14-year-old song?
Yeah.
And it just kind of feels so uncool.
It
feels
feels
like I don't
the whole
dislike the song.
Like no, but
But
the
it
whole
just-
idea of doing it feels
Yeah.
uncool.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Could you imagine being like, ugh, I'm in
16
marching
years,
band
like-
and like I have to go to this stupid event and play this song that
Stupid
they
song.
yeah they picked the song. They were like,
Yeah, but like
guys,
they're like
it's
the kids
downtown.
would be like, this song, I was 2 when this song came out. This song hasn't been out long enough for me to be like cool again.
Right. No, this sucks. And like that, the gala looks like it's in the mall, right? Is it? in a
I
mall?
honestly thought that it was a mall that they were opening
It
up,
looked like
and
a
I was
mall.
like, man, this is shades of the last couple.
But when you turn Amity Island into Florida, things change. Watercolor, event spaces, everything's different in
And
Amity
also
too.
I love that the pageant winner, what was her title? Miss something or other.
It was like Miss
Amity
Amity of 77 or whatever.
Yeah,
Like,
and she was like so scared to. I mean, first of all, it's super fucking demeaning to have her be in like a bathing suit to be like the ribbon cutter, and then
Yeah.
she goes up and she's like very, very shy about cutting the ribbon, and I think it's the mayor who's like, go ahead, and she like does it, and then all these balloons and all this bullshit like confetti fall out of the ceiling, and she's shocked and amazed by it, and all I can think of is that this is over a pool, and those poor fuckers that have to clean the pool before they actually open up this hotel.
Exactly. Well, and so that leads to a whole bunch of other stuff, because yes, the main premise in this one is that they don't want any bad press for this pool that they've just opened, which leads to a part in the
I thought
second.
that it was like a hotel, like a big.
Or that's what I mean. Sorry, this hotel that they've opened. They don't want any bad press about it, and it leads to this weird scene in the second act that Kyle made a reference to, where Chief Brody's firing a gun into the ocean
Oh my
at a
God.
bunch of bluefish, and he's trying to convince people to get back into the water when he realizes his mistake. But before that, I'm watching it and I'm like, they're nervous that people won't invest in this resort because they have safety precautions. They're like, what's that man
Right.
doing up there? Like, get him down. Like,
I
how
think that
dare-
it's just that his wife, who's doing all the schmoozing, is like, oh God, he's probably gonna fucking embarrass me again.
Yeah. Dude.
They had a very tumultuous relationship. But
Didn't do so
the
well.
one thing that I did want to mention about that the spot when he's shooting into the ocean, which is fucking not going to work. I just, anybody that wants to kill a fish, you're probably not going to do it with cyanide coated bullets shot into the ocean. It's
Into the
just-
ocean.
Yeah.
Into the fucking ocean.
Yeah, like
No.
I don't.
From a pretty far distance. He's
an
I mean,
he's
he's
really had
past
a
all
lot
the
of
people.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
he's got a lot of faith in his ability to hit that shark from that distance.
Like,
With
because those
cyanide
bluefish-
bullets, like
Those
that's
bluefish aren't even near the people at that point. Those bluefish do not want to go near the people.
No.
So in theory, if the shark's there, it's not anywhere. It's just crazy to me.
He did probably take out one or two.
Which
bluefish,
this whole
though.
movie, it's all those people's fault. The shark didn't come to the beach; they went out. Like
Yes.
it's their fault.
Listen, don't get me
There's
wrong
no
on
protective.
this. I am Mr. That is their home, and I respect it
Yes.
and will not invite myself into it.
Right? Fuck that.
No, it's an interest. So we have this really cool scene, again, hitting the beats of a slasher movie, right? You get that first kill right out the gate, set the tone, and then there's like the 20 minutes of fake out stuff where it's like all the teens. We're introduced to all of the teens
So
from the
many
third
teens.
act on this dock. and there's like the one kid is what is it called, like parasailing or whatever, where he's like he keeps dropping into the water and then they speed up the boat.
I thought that was
up.
hilarious, actually.
Yeah,
like,
but they're faking you out with it. You're like,
Yeah.
ooh, is he gonna get it? And like, no, he's
have
not.
his butt cheek chewed off.
Like a ghoulie.
Ooh,
There's
that's
even
how I would react.
there's
Ooh.
even a little bit of credit that must be given because it's a '70s movie for one dude correcting another dude for a sexist comment on the.
I did
Aw,
appreciate
man.
that.
Yeah.
Oh
Yes.
man,
He goes,
one for the good guys.
yeah, he goes, do you have to be like that? And I'm like, look at him. Good work right there.
Does he get eaten though? I can't remember who gets eaten. I know there's the one.
I think it's just the
who's
one
always
dude, Eddie.
fucking, right? Yeah, that guy is like just such a horn dog, and so that really does kind of mirror like a slasher because he's
Yeah.
he and his girlfriend probably should have both gotten eaten.
Yeah,
should've.
him and
They
Tina,
should've,
man.
in theory.
Uh,
A shark
Tina's
tooth
joy.
through one person and then into Tina.
Oh my god,
Like
it's
yeah.
fin, like its
Yeah.
dorsal
Oh,
fin
it's
just
fin. Hell yeah.
Oh, we should not put this out into the world because that dude that does all the Sharknado movies is going to be like, why didn't we do that in this movie?
Yeah.
In any
Why
of
did
our
we stop
movies
at
yet?
10? We got to do one more.
And have it literally unicorn kill people.
We get this water skier boat driver moment that I think is masterfully done as well. The shark is following the water skier, knocks her out, and then there's silence at the water. The person driving the boat's like, what happened? And then boof, shark just straight into the side of the boat. And as she's stumbling to try to kill this shark, she accidentally blows herself up and terribly burns the shark.
Yeah, but like think about like how bombastic that is.
Oh, this is why we had to pick it for this episode. That scene alone is why it becomes horror movie night fodder, where the first film fails.
Well, the thing about that in particular is that I felt those were the kills that I felt bad for those people. Like
Yeah.
they are just. It's like the old woman said. She was like, 1 minute they were having the time of their lives, the next minute they were gone.
Yep.
Summertime.
But
I don't have
man, we
anything
get
else
so
for
much
that.
out of that moment, right? Like we get that explosion. We get Chief Brody finding the charred up corpse. Like,
Oh, that was an actual jump scare that got me, and I was like, I'll accept
done.
that. That was
I'll
one
accept
of the
it.
best jump scares of my entire adult life.
yeah,
because
him
I'm not
flipping
one, I'm
over
not
that piece of
expecting it.
wood. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I wasn't expecting a corpse, but two.
No, it got Carly and I too. It was
I
great.
literally just thought that it was going to be like the other half of the girls' ski, and then for him to be like, I knew it, because
Yeah.
I don't think that they found any. They didn't find anybody
Yeah.
at the wreckage, and so I thought there was going to be like just a clue, not like
bits and pieces.
a whole body.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a whole fucking body. And then later on in the movie, there's the scuba divers. They're going down there to try to find some stuff. They're looking for, I think, both the missing scuba divers and the corpses of the skier. And that's when we finally get the reveal of the now burnt up on the side of the face shark. And I'm like, God damn, did they make that thing look good?
Yeah.
Like, it looks
Yeah.
so gnarly.
Could you imagine? I mean, after you hear all the stories of the first fucking shark being like just a nightmare to work with, and then this one apparently is flawless and looks great, and
It's the
is
only
amazing.
time Jaws looked
It's-
good.
It's
Yeah.
salt water in the wound for these guys. It's
Yeah.
got to be really a huge bummer for that Jaws 1 crew.
They're just sailing away.
Ah!
we referenced him already, but
Hated
my
that.
favorite part of the movie, the best kill in the movie, as far as I'm concerned, is Eddie, the teenage boy, trying to get laid on his boat. Shark hits him, hits the boat, he falls off, and as he's swimming, the shark just grabs him and fucking slams him into the side of his boat, like in full force. It makes no logistical
Dude, the
sense,
shark's
but it's great.
anti-capital. The shark's anti-capitalist. Fuck all these rich people.
Yeah,
Like, this is
definitely.
terrible. The sailing is rich people shit, and I hate it. I do.
like,
Sorry,
you know
everybody.
The meme that's like, I should buy a boat. It's not a speedboat. It's not like a fishing boat. It's literally like, unless you're a multimillionaire, probably you don't have like a mini yacht or anything like that.
No.
But you have a sailing boat if you are very well-to-do white dude with who's probably a lawyer, and
for
so
sure.
sailing,
Real estate. So, you did pretty
it's
good
probably
on the
real estate now.
Yeah.
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 I did go sailing one time as a child, and I got to do a significant amount of like the work, but it was just on like Lake Erie. It wasn't like
in the open
sea,
ocean.
Yeah, and it
Bummer.
was only for like an hour. And I hated it.
Yeah.
I really hate sailing.
Here's
There's
the thing.
too much-
I don't like anything tied to the ocean. I don't like sailing. I don't like going to the beach and walking in the sand and getting fucking sand all over the place. Like, there's no appeal.
Calm down, Anakin.
Like, I don't like any of it. Like, it's always like, oh, would you rather have a beach house or a mountain house? I'm like, fucking mountain house. That's not even up for debate.
A mountain house also is never going to have a hurricane. But so I like inlet beaches, where it's very calm. And I don't mind a smaller lake like like the Finger Lakes in New York State.
Yeah.
Those are fantastic, and some of those are incredibly creepily deep because they're glacial cut from the earth. And so the one that Megan and I went on last summer was, they have like a depth monitor.
Yeah.
On the when you rent a boat, and we rented a pontoon this year, or last year rather. The time before we went, we rented a speedboat. Megan was like, "Faster, faster!" Yeah, I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna shit my pants," because 50 miles an hour on the water insane.
Is horrifying.
Yeah. And
you feel every mile per hour in your face, and it's very scary.
Yes. So anyway, we got a pontoon on purpose last year for the second time around, and we're on this different lake, and it goes like the depth counter goes from 15 feet to 38 feet to 120 feet to like 2,000 feet, and I'm like, what just happened? It's because it's almost a completely vertical drop in the middle of that lake.
And what fucking lives in there, man?
Exactly,
Something lives in there.
dude.
Well, that's next year's pick, the Crater Lake Monster.
No. But anyway, Megan loves to swim. She loves to get into any body of water. I jumped in and immediately jumped out of that lake last summer because I have never given myself like a complex about getting my feet nibbled on by a
that's my thing.
Lovecraftian monster.
I can go into a pool, and maybe if I was in like say the Bahamas where it's like crystal clear water that you can see the bottom of, I'd be like, all right, sure, but
you can go to Jaws. You can go to Jaws too,
right?
Yeah, the second I can't see what's below the water, I'm just like, can't do it. Can't do it.
I was going to say that,
I'm sorry, I just remembered. I have Lake Erie Monster IPA from Great Lakes as my beer.
That's amazing.
I didn't even mean to bring that around into the conversation.
I'm waiting for the day that you both have the same drink, though. But Kyle, what drink do you have?
I would love for that to happen one day. It might happen next. Actually, it's not going to happen next week.
It's not going to happen next week because I've actually tried actively to not. Maybe, though, we can do the mind meld thing and make something happen this fall.
Stare at each other for 30 minutes on StreamYard and see if we can make it happen. I got Montauk Watermelon Session Ale, so that's I got it confused with Narragansett. I was going to be like any New Englander, and then I realized I got it confused with Narragansett, and Montauk is Long Island. But it all plays.
Is Narragansett
Narragansett is, or I'm sorry, Nantucket. Nantucket was, Narragansett's Rhode Island. Nantucket is Massachusetts area, I think. I might be lying directly to people's faces.
Where was Matt will know this. Where was the first Jaws filmed?
So if I hear the name, I'll distinctly remember it.
They shot in Martha's Vineyard.
Martha's Vineyard.
Oh, okay.
That's
makes
what it
sense.
was.
And then where's this one?
That's where they do this special screening. They did the 40-year anniversary screening where you could watch it in the lake where they shot the movie in an inner tube. And I was like, I would
Megan does not love horror movies, but she would have loved to do that.
I was going to say, if you like calm beaches, you have to come visit up here because our coastline is separated by Long Island, so it actually breaks up. Like, I mean, here's the thing. The only problem with that is that it does get like seaweed-y, right? And like the beaches are a little bit rocky, but all in all, like the sound breaks up the waves, so it's just like very chill, very just like sit, here.
I mean,
look
you
at
live
the,
on the water, and I didn't hear it for 1 second.
No,
It
you
was
can't.
very
Yeah.
calm.
Okay,
It's
Matt.
crazy.
Next summer we're gonna do
We'll
something
do some
special, and
convention up there.
we're
Yeah.
just gonna go to his house.
Just come
Okay,
hang.
that too.
free.
Yeah,
You
come
can
hang.
do the live stream up here.
Yeah,
We'll
let's
figure
do the
it
live
out.
stream at Kyle's. The reason I asked about where Jaws 1 was filmed is because I wanted to know where Jaws 2 was filmed.
Florida.
That was in Florida? Okay.
It was in Florida. It was I forget where in Florida, but it was in Florida because I looked it up because there's a few wide shots where the water is so blue.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's no way.
But some of the beaches look very like
the beaches,
Cape
the
Hatteras,
beaches,
you know?
Yeah, yes, yeah, and like they did a lot to make it work, but there is just a lot of, I mean, there's just a lot.
I didn't see a single palm tree.
Fort
so-
Walton
Yeah, that's
Beach in Florida.
Yeah,
Yeah. Here's something that's
I
interesting.
don't know where technically in Florida that is, but it doesn't. I don't know if it's Gulf
You
or
can
if it's
ask
Atlantic.
Brian. He'll probably
Yeah.
Brian.
So part of the thing that's kind of random about this is like 78. I don't want to say that's early for them
It
doing
is.
sequels like this, but
is.
they're not used to it because apparently the original pitch for a Jaws sequel was that it was going to be a prequel based around Quint's USS Annapolis story that he tells on the boat, and they're like, well, what if we just make a movie about that and call it Jaws 2?
Called Baby Jaws Doo Doo.
Okay, stop.
Baby
Nope,
Jaws
you're done.
Doo Doo.
You're tapped out. That's the parent on the show.
Nah, that is good.
Can we talk about my favorite character in the movie? This fucking theater nerd who damages his own boat by being too busy doing some pirate
The
monologue.
dude from Christine.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Amazing. Amazing.
I was
So
like,
good.
I know he's from another HMN movie that we watched recently, but I just
Yeah.
didn't go and look at the IMDb at all, which was so strange because I typically like
You're
live
like, fuck
on
him.
it.
He's dead. Oh, he's in these. I love that they credited all these kids as featured players. Like, I was like, what is this? It's
very
so. I
Shakespearean.
really can't believe that it's 78. It does have
know
so
what's
many
interesting?
slasher tropes
Yeah.
that I am so surprised that it's that early. Like, I thought it was 82. You know, like
It looks like 1980 to me, and that would make sense because that would have
Yeah.
been they would have had a fast turnaround from the screenplay to the filming to blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But it being 78 really does kind of throw a wrench in the gears because
Yeah.
you think about it. Halloween didn't come out until 78.
No, it just was something in the air. It just
No,
like I
well,
don't think
so
it's
this is what I
intentional,
think
but-
is that 74 was Black Christmas, and then we start to get that like stalking women kind of thing, and that's what the nucleus of this is. And I really think that 78 kind of was like the when we got that fission, like that
almost
first-
like common language almost like developed in
Yeah.
78 to
Yeah.
then build upon.
I
Exactly.
want to
Which is
bring
really
things
interesting.
real quick back to our dude from Christine because interesting thing that I just realized, I was like, I need to know the dude's name. It's Keith Gordon. Keith Gordon, the next year after this movie, played young Roy Schneider in
What?
All That Jazz.
wow.
Wow. That's
Very
crazy.
cool.
Yeah, they
That's
both,
really cool.
And it's like, I guess I can kind of see how he has that slender face where it'd be like, yeah, we can make this guy look
can
like
make
the
it work.
teenage version of Roy Schneider. Kyle, I have a question specifically for you. Although Scott may have seen this in his lifetime, but you and I have talked at length about how often we watched the American Pie 2 DVD,
Yeah.
which at that point in time, we'll say it was 2001, for about 2 years, anytime you bought a Universal DVD, it started with a montage advertisement of Universal titles that you could not skip that 1000% contained this burn up shark face jumping at the camera.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Yep, it did. It did. It was the most actiony. They're like, yes, we have Jaws, but Jaws 1 isn't really that exciting.
So
They didn't say that. They didn't say that.
No.
But a burned up Jaws is much more exciting.
Jumping
'cause then
right
they
at the
paired-
camera with
I
the
forget-
mouth open.
They,
Yeah.
they paired it with another explosion, with another, like it would just worked so well. But
It's
you're absolutely
burned-
right.
It's burned into my brain that it shows up
Oh
in
my
this
It's
God.
burned
montage.
into
I'll have to see if I
the
can
Jaws
find
brain
it.
too.
It's burned into the shark too. Yeah.
So the thing is that for the listeners that don't know this, I like once we build our schedule for like 3-5 months, however long it is that we like have at least a bunch of stuff planned out, I will go out and I'll get images for our social media spots. So I'll always get a poster and at least 2 pictures, screenshots from the movie. It becomes more difficult when you haven't seen the movie. Now, this is the perfect example of me not realizing what I was getting into, because I Googled Jaws 2 photos, and there are these photos of a shark blowing up, and I'm like, that can't be from Jaws 2.
Yeah.
It's from Jaws 2. I just, like, it seemed so over the top. I had the hardest time going back. Like, in retrospect, I probably should have known that it was going to be so over the top because you picked it. But damn, I went with really tame pictures this time because I was like, these can't be from this movie.
Yeah.
They have to be from
Dude,
Cruel Jaws or something.
The shark kill in this movie is, out of the 4 Jaws movies, in my opinion, the best way that they've taken out this shark, because it is insane.
It's
like,
insane.
He's
insane.
just fully on fire.
Yeah. And you see fire coming out of one eye socket at a point, which is just... It's
so
such
good.
a slasher kill, too. Like, that's how you kill the bad guy. You burn
Exactly.
to a crisp. It's a fucking amazing ending.
I mean,
Right.
I'm not sure if either one of you were able to ride the Jaws ride in Universal, but that's how they chose to kill the shark at the end of the Universal ride as well, is that you set it on fire with an electrical cord that the skipper that's piloting your boat pulls out of the water, and then you get the burnt up Jaws face coming at. Like, they really tied Jaws 1 and 2 into that single ride because they were both of equal importance. Like, Jaws is a very important movie for a ton of reasons. Jaws 2, though, credit must be given to arguably one of the most iconic taglines in film history, just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water.
It's
like,
true.
the amount of times
Holy shit, I thought that was from Jaws.
No,
I did
that's
not
Jaws
realize it was
2.
a sequel tagline.
Yeah.
See, now, listeners, I'm not an absolute horror idiot. I've been doing this show for a very long time.
You knew it was Jaws something. Yeah.
Yeah, but the reason why I have such a blind spot when we do these movies is because I mean, of all the giant monster movies, I think I had seen 3 in my entire life before Matt and I started doing horror movie nights. So,
well, Scott, I got some great news for you. Shudder emailed me the other day to see if I wanted to have a screener of the shark exploitation documentary that
Steven
they're dropping.
Scarlatta.
Yes.
And
I
of course
almost
you
watched
said
it.
yes,
I
right?
wanted to watch it before this, and I'm so mad that I didn't. So I'm interested to hear if anybody did.
It probably was going to be like 3 or 4 hours, though, right? I mean,
Probably. Well, no, I think concise on
is
that
it a
one,
normal
right?
amount?
No, this is a
time
normal
for
one.
a
This is from the
documentary?
producer of Jodorowsky's Dune.
Okay.
He went on to direct this, and he's a good sport who would not do a 4-hour documentary. Though he could talk at lengths. He could talk at length about shark movies. He's a fucking brilliant dude. But the documentary is the proper
Spielberg,
length.
bless him for being not so full of himself as to do a 4-hour documentary.
Yeah.
And the only other thing that we need to talk about to wrap up Jaws 2 is probably one of the more iconic moments in the movie. So iconic that it's attacking Kyle as we speak. The shark taking down the helicopter. And what I love about this scene is that it's a great script writing trick of, like, we've got these kids huddled around on these ships. Here's their fake salvation, right? Mm-hmm. Here's the helicopter that's coming to save them. And I love that not only is it a false salvation for them, it actually fucks them up even more because as the helicopter gets pulled underwater, the blades break off as they hit the water and destroy all of their sails. So now they can't even hope for a gust of wind to maybe get them to land. They are fully trapped in the spot where they are.
How sick would it have been if they would have like leaned into that with the? I mean, because I know that you sent us the extended version of that they had to cut so that it could be PG. But if they went for the hard R rating on this, we got that, and then we could have the kids get like partially mangled by pieces of helicopter.
That would have been the 80s version of this movie.
Dude, that's what I was waiting
Like
for. And
the
what
mutilator.
You sent me.
It's like the mutilator.
No.
Jaws the mutilator.
You have to remember, because I sent it to you, and I was like, I hope they understand, like, the 70s specifically, like, the MPAA ratings were like, will this absolutely traumatize a child? If so, it probably needs to be an R rating. So I can understand why a man trapped in an upside-down helicopter screaming for his dear life as a shark smashes against it.
I'm
like,
40-ish, 41-ish, and that is an incredibly. It's one of those scenes where you just hold your breath. And not, I have a thing like when there are underwater scenes in a movie, my entire life, I cannot help it but hold my breath because my little lizard brain is like, don't drown.
Well, no, so I do something similar. My lizard brain is anytime that people are driving in a scene, I am bracing myself for a car crash, no matter what.
Especially when they like stare too long.
When they do that profile, when they do that profile look, they're like, and you're like, oh, they're gonna hit a cross street at any moment.
And sometimes I'm right and sometimes I'm wrong, but my body still tenses up every single time.
I wonder what the first. I obviously I'm not sure if we could actually pinpoint it, but I wonder what the first one that we have seen in our lives was.
Oh man,
I actually think that like the movie Crash, not Cronenberg's, the other one, was probably the first one that did it to me. I think they did it like really, really effectively, and it's scared the fuck out of me.
The one that truly caught me off guard and fucked me up was Adaptation.
Adaptations is
because it's literally like them just telling you a story and someone's backing out of their driveway and just gets fucking smashed by a speeding pickup truck instantaneously, and it's so unexpected.
It is mind-blowing
and heartbreaking
how many original scripts are written every year but are never made.
So we seek out these scripts and bring them to life with full audio production and professional actors.
Check us out at Undiscovered Scripts,
Movies made of paper,
wherever you get your podcasts.
Free.
All right, well, I think that's Jaws 2, so, I mean, we can just wrap up the episode.
Nope, we can't. We got another thing to go over. We need to go over double features,
Lord.
Matt. I know you're so forgetful. It's okay. Why don't you, if you remember, why don't you tell us your double feature?
It's kind of an obvious one, but Last Shark. I mean, the helicopter scene in Last Shark is definitely better than the helicopter scene in this one, but... But Last Shark is so good. It's so good.
Yeah, so here's my question for you as someone who probably saw Jaws 2 before Last Shark, right?
Yes.
So, I saw Last Shark before Jaws 2, as everyone knows. And I love Last Shark. It's my favorite giant animal movie probably. And I love that scene. Now, do you think that scene is more over the top or less over the top for someone who has not seen the Jaws 2 helicopter scene?
I think it's probably more over the top. Like, we have to also focus on the fact that the shark physically pulling a helicopter underwater is probably the most unrealistic thing that this movie tries to sell us on. Like, no, that helicopter would just keep going, and eventually the teeth would like tear on the cushion. It's biting into a cushion.
It's a float.
Also, don't sharks' teeth just like pop out easily?
Pop out all the time.
Oh my god!
That's why they have all those necklaces on the beaches. That's why they have those.
Yeah,
they're really easy to come by. Carly looks over to me when that helicopter thing was going, and she goes, "As a shark, that's agitating to me." That helicopter's really close.
I actually think that Jaws 2 is more absurd in what it's trying to sell us, because The Last Shark leans so hard into it that it's like cartoonishly absurd, but Jaws 2 wants us to buy it. But Jaws Last Shark is definitely way more over the top and weird. How about you guys? What would you double feature this bad boy
why don't
with?
you go ahead?
This is such a cop out, but I was actually just going to say the Sharksploitation documentary, even though I haven't seen it. I just, as this movie being the sort of like this, what feels like the true crossover of like the horror genre and like Jaws. I was like, oh, it's like not only did Jaws set in motion these exploitation movies, but Jaws 2 really must have. So it's a little bit of promo for Steven, but it's also I think it's going to be a really cool doc, and it makes me like shark movies. Between this and like Cruel Jaws and Last Shark and even some of the later ones that, I mean, Carly and I watched Ouija Shark the other day, and just,
oh my god,
you know, like there's just shit that, I don't know, sharks are weird. I don't care for them really all that much. I don't love shark movies, but I just can't believe that there is like a true subgenre that is like shark movies.
Yeah, like, and when you think of like giant animal movies, you think sharks.
You do.
Or
you
crocodiles,
do.
Or alligators rather. I mean, reptiles.
So something. I think you're right, Kyle, that this is really what set off Sharksploitation. It was a massive success, right? Made on a $20 million budget and brought in $208 million.
Wow.
But
holy shit!
It was actually the following year, Rocky 2 beat this, but it was the highest grossing sequel in history at the time of its release. Then the next year, Rocky 2 came out. But
Yeah, sure.
Like,
but I mean, think about. I mean, those are real heavy hitters.
yeah.
Oh,
look at that.
God.
He's got jokes.
Scott, what do you
He's
got?
got jokes. Yeah, what would your double feature be?
Just gonna go with Creepshow 2, specifically The Raft.
Oh, nice.
It's also
Nice.
It evens out the runtime of the two of them because one is 30 minutes long, and one is 2 hours.
It's like
long.
you watched it's already like you watched a double feature.
Yeah,
Your perfect double feature.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's great.
all right.
All right, so then
what
we're
about-
definitely done, right? There's nothing else?
You know, this bit is ridiculous. We know that Kyle and I need to get you to the next spot, so just let it happen.
I never pull my weight in this moment.
So Matt, what do you want to promote this week?
I'm pretty sure I already talked about the Traitors on last week's episode, the reality show that I watched on I want to say it was Peacock. That is literally just the game of Mafia.
Yes.
Played with reality show stars. Okay, cool. Well, then in that case, I'm going to talk about one of the 4 books that I read during my
Damn.
California trip this week. The book that I read throughout my entire flight to California, Lose You to Find Me by Eric J. Brown, former guest of the podcast. It's hard for me to explain this book unbiasedly because Eric is writing about our high school job, and I recognize every character. Like, every single character, I'm like, I remember that boss. I remember that coworker. Like, he's very much pulling from, like, our own experiences. So there is probably a thicker level of rose-tinted nostalgia for me than most other readers. But where I think that All That's Left in the World is such a good book, I legitimately think that this is a masterpiece. It's so well crafted. Like, he described it as Empire Records in a retirement home, and that's exactly what it is. Like, you're just hanging out with these fun teenagers, and every chapter is just like a little snapshot vignette of like a day in the retirement home with like one romantic subplot tying it all together. But by the time you get to what is essentially the third act of the book, all of those vignettes suddenly matter, and they do come back to the bigger picture. It's so masterfully written and put together in that way. And it's a story about a kid who, when he was very young, made a friend at summer camp, and that was how he realized that he was gay, was the friend that he made in summer camp. And then the kid from summer camp went home one week and then just never came back, and he's never heard of him or thought of him since. And now it's his senior year of high school. He's getting ready for college, and he's asked to train a new kid at work, and it's the kid from summer camp, and the kid from summer camp doesn't remember him. And it's him grappling with that. Like, how could this person who is so important in my life story not even remember who I am? And it really starts to fuck with his plan for the future. And that's kind of the theme of the whole show is like, or the whole book is like characters in high school planning out their future and then realizing that like 18 is way too damn young to try to figure out what your future actually is. So it's just so well done. I read 2 different YA novels during this trip, both of them great. And I was trying to explain it to somebody, and I was like, dude, YA romance novels fall into the same bucket for me as like a 90s teen flick, a Hallmark Christmas movie, or a slasher film. Like, they have a formula. In like 10 minutes, you know exactly how it's going to end, and then you're just enjoying the ride to get to that foregone conclusion with like no pressure, no stress. You're just like, this, it's going to hit these beats. These friends are going to stop being friends for like 20 pages, and then they're going to become friends again. And like, the person who you thought they were going to end up with, they're not going to end up with, but like the other person who was kind of there is who they like. You just always, it fits a very specific formula. The formula works, and I will happily read like 50 books that have that same formula. They are perfect for flights or like train. Like, if you're like just going to have to kill 5 hours, I cannot recommend a YA novel enough. And Lose You to Find Me is the perfect one.
I love it. Kyle, hit us up.
Well, so to build upon that, I watched the first season of The Summer I Turned Pretty.
Oh yeah, Megan's been watching that.
Yeah, and so we all know, let's listen to the crowd say it, he's bad at TV. So I don't know how far I'll get in this, but man, like, so while there is a formula for YA, and wouldn't necessarily call The Summer I Turned Pretty young adult, though, like, I really do think it bridges the gap, because there's this whole storyline about the mothers of the children that are there too, so it's very like it's very emotion porn-y. Like, it's not as like heavy, it's not as hardcore as Parenthood, but it's also like it has a whole span of emotions just revolving around these kids. And I love stuff like that too, because it does take a common narrative or a pattern or something that you can see in the young adult stuff, and then build upon it into a world so that you can actually have one foot in and one foot out. Like, you can actually be like really a lot more almost reality based. Like, it's not just the pattern, but you can find comfort in being able to fall back upon characters that or setups that you can find yourself in. And I was just like really enjoying it. It was what I was watching between these two short film productions, and we had some friends from Texas visiting, and it was just like, and they also have a young kid, 18 months. So like, once the kids were in bed, we would just sit down and watch a couple episodes. It was really nice to just sort of like watch that. Jenny Han's got something going on, dude. Jenny Han's got it going on, which has probably been said in many an article, but I like it.
All right. Scott, how about you? Take us home.
All right. So I decided that since this is pretty late in the summer when this is coming out, I want to give a quick recap on a couple great summer records that I came across this summer. I have just two, three. One is an honorable mention. I guess I'll start with that. There is a band from Pittsburgh that originally started out in Philly called Danvers, like Carol Danvers, and they came out with an album called Like We Knew What It Meant, and they are very they're very late 90s aggressive emo, but it's not like screamo, and it's not fast enough to really be Old Saves the Day, but it kind of scratches the itch of Old Saves the Day. So it's really, really great, great material. And the reason I know about that band is because the lead singer / main songwriter / guitar player, whatever, years and years ago, probably like a decade ago, put out a post on like the Cleveland Craigslist musicians section saying like looking for a second guitar player. And I was like, I mean, maybe I could do that. Go out to Pittsburgh every 6 weeks and prep up, just do a little bit of fun pop punk. Like not really pop punk, but it kind of also fits into that. Never really even went out for an audition, but have followed them ever since, and they've put out some great records, but this one is very, very good, and it sounds like it's from the late 90s. It's really quite interesting how they do that. Out. Yeah, please do. And then the next one is slightly more punk rock, but also still has a lot of polish. It's called Doghouse. The band is called Doghouse Rose, and the album is called Unlearn. And female fronted, and she kind of has a bit of a bomb pops type approach. But the reason why this record is one of my favorites, it'll be on my list at the end of the year, but definitely the record that I've listened to the most this summer is because they have this song called Jacob's Sweater. Now, the first song on the record is great. It's called Don't Be an Asshole. And it's like, you can be an asshole if you want to, but why would you? And it's like very upbeat. It's super fun. But the song Jacob's Sweater it's kind of like this minor key driving kind of skate punk song, but it's about this guy that she sees at a show, her friend Jacob, who had gone thrifting that day and gets a new sweater, and she loves the sweater and she wants to steal it from him, but then he gets fucking mustard on it. And the end of it is they do this riff on Master of Puppets, but they say mustard, and it is incredible. So those two are just real great. And then my guilty pleasure is this kind of power pop duo called Honey Revenge. And my God, when you listen to the song Airhead, it is the first song on the album. It will get stuck in your head for days. It is such a well-produced album, but it's pop music. So, like, I'm not saying that if you like punk rock that you will like it, but it definitely owes a lot to Paramore, I suppose, but it's just kind of a different angle. It's real fun, though, and very, very, very polished. So I highly recommend everybody check out those three bands if you are into any of those subgenres of punk rock, pop punk, whatever you want to call it.
Nice. And
I just added them all to my to-listen playlist. Thank you, Scott.
There we go. And next week, stay tuned for my what did I watch, what did I read, whatever this week, because it might tie back to Scott's.
Unintentionally.
But you're going to have to wait next week for that. So stay tuned for more Horror Movie Night.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.